I'm good, thanks. And you, Siddharth?
I'm fine, thanks, and yourself. Okay, my first question to you is please tell me about your journey to how you became a teacher at the Department of Education at KZN and also being at radio, radio presenter and reporter at Sunrise FM, if I'm correct.
Yes. Well, it's been a long battle, or rather journey, to that place where I am right now. And in between, there were lots of fit stuff. So initially, I started off teaching preschool, the foundation. And thereafter, I got married and had kids.
Oh.
And I allowed myself to grow with them and found myself always in the school circles to be around them, to ensure that all is going well. And then I found myself in the high school, and that happened to be my alma mater, the school that I went to, where my kids were matriculating at the time. So I spent more and more time that I spent there, the more I got, aware that kids actually took to me, not just my own, their friends, and I was always complimented by staff telling me that, you know what, Ragini, you have a good rapport with kids. They understand you, they gel well with you. Why don't you further? And I said to them, well, look, I've got a foundation for it. They said, no, it's something to work with. Let's get you there. So there was one educator, and I must mention her by name. Her name is Nalini Kisun, sorry. And she took me and went all the way to Edgewood to check to see, well, I was quite mature at age at that time. And so she says, let's go and see. So then it required a lot of funding as well as a full time attendance, which I did not and could not maintain. So we looked at other options and we found that UNISA was a better option because you can work and earn at the same time.
Hmm.
So because of the age exemption as well, that and I managed to get myself in. And yeah, I chose teaching because I must be fair and must be honest. I looked at it at that time. I thought, wow, teaching is such a lovely job because you get to go to school at a good time. You get
Hmm.
home at a good time, enough time to cook, spend time with the kids, and that's it. You just get up and go the next day. But now
Hmm.
that I'm teaching, I'll tell you what, it's not what people think it is. It is
Hmm.
a full-time job. And so what happened was it brought me to remember I was studying. I was completed my qualification. I had one or two jobs before that, and then we entered COVID, and
Oh.
everything came to standstill. 2020,
Hmm.
and everybody was at home. Kids were at home, and so we found ourselves teaching ourselves. Kids were learning how to teach themselves without having a teacher in their presence. Parents were also getting more involved in their children's lives because obviously they did not want 1 year wasted. We didn't know when it was going to be uplifted. So we did everything we could to learn how to go online, learn about technology. And some people who never went to the kitchen found themselves in the kitchen, learning how to cook, teaching themselves. So the basic thing was there was education. We were all teaching ourselves how to get by from day to day. And
Hmm.
so I took that opportunity when I saw an advert in the paper of a new radio station opening up in Shaxford. And I thought, wow, presenting, as another platform to teach people, educate people. So
Hmm.
I really didn't think deep into it. I just signed up. And out of about 1,000 applicants, I was chosen. I had the
Wow.
interview via online. Now, then I found myself when I went to the opening, the orientation, after looking at all these young people, I'm thinking, my word, I'm about the oldest person here on this team. What can I offer? Because you're looking at people with headsets on and it looks such a
Hmm.
cool job and thinking, okay, are you choosing songs? Are you playing on the disc? What are you doing? No, but they
Hmm.
found an art spot that suited me. Uh,
Hmm.
the other passion of mine is cooking. I love
Oh.
cooking. And I actually started off a journal because I've got two young daughters who one is married and gone, one is with. So they always like, they go out and eat and they still can't get enough of mom's cooking. So I said, okay, fine, let me leave you a little something that you can, work on. Obviously, you're going to make it your own over time. And
Hmm.
so I started a journal, and then the presenter put me on the cooking edition, which I did on a Friday with a co-host who's now a writer for Nikiwe, Neo Iman. So I was co-hosting with her on a Friday for my recipes and cooking acts and things like that. And then on a Monday morning, whoever was presenting, whether it was Bhavna or social media, I would come in with a motivational minute, with a motivational minute. But even that motivational minute took a lot of time to work, to get the right words, right? But most of the times, it's something that you feel from within. You want to motivate people, taking from your own life, and letting people see that something is practical. You're going through something practical. Like, if we have time, may I give you an example? Like, we were all told to use masks, right?
Oh.
uh, Masks were the thing from 2020 until now. Whenever you get a little flu, you're told to use a mask, or people around you
Hmm.
to pick up, health wise, we have to use that. But if you look at it on a deeper level, how many people are using masks, symbolic masks, masks to cover the hurt, the abuse, masks to cover just the fact that they are going through something? We mask it, we fake it. So we are symbolizing that mask on different levels in our life. you know. So inadvertently, we all using masks, not even if it's the physical one, but we're masking something. If I'm upset and I'm going to school in the morning, I'm masking it. I'm smiling to my kids because I don't want my kids to know that I had a problem. I'm smiling because I want to project that positive energy. So in a way, I'm masking. So yeah, I use that as a little of one motivational that I had. And yes, it came to 6 months into my contract. I was asked to do a 6 months contract and then you'll renew it. But I noticed at that time that the owner of the studio was also venturing out into other things. He let us know that he is venturing out, trying to build the studio, trying to get in, new stuff, new products. And for me, as a housewife, as a mother, the COVID just got lifted. So I saw now that I might get back into the classroom. So I didn't want to sign myself on another 6 months. Then I'll be tied to the studio.
Hmm.
So I humbly bowed out because the media that I was getting was a bit too much for me
Hmm.
personally, with the Instagram, and I'm not a
Hmm.
media person, to be honest with you, and
Hmm.
I was not too keen on all the attention that I was getting.
Hmm.
So yeah, I bowed out of that, and
Uh-huh.
I got a job quick enough. I got back into school, and yeah, I'm currently at a school in Chatsworth. I teach life science, and
Oh.
yes, I'm a life science teacher. So for me, life is science. Everything is about
Okay.
science. And even my children catch me out and says to me, but ma'am, whenever you start, you always get back to the subject, life science. I'm so in love with my job. I love my work. I love the subject. And yeah, that's it.
Who are the people that you look up to professionally, especially in the teaching and radio?
Okay, if I go back to the teaching, it would be, it's iconic that I've got some teachers that taught me, but I am teaching with currently as colleagues. That is so weird for me because I still can't stop calling them ma'am.
Huh.
Um, to just name a few, it was a teacher at Wesley Secondary that was the one that cemented my profession for me. She literally took me by the hand and made sure that I get to where I am. And then at the second place of my work, there was another two teachers that taught my children and taught alongside of me. They're now retired, and they are still very close to me, always guiding me, keeping me. I did not take permission from them to name them, so I won't name them. Uh, we have to be so particular about that. One is a language major, and the other one is a Afrikaans, English and Afrikaans. And they still, we have this close circle. If ever I feel overwhelmed, if ever I feel like, I can always call them up. I have a good network. There's another lady who taught life science at my old school, Miss Espile. I took permission from her, and she's still currently. She'll always guide me, tell me. So on the teaching profession, there's a host of teachers, that I can name. There was one teacher. He was my typing teacher, Mr. Emple, and I remember when I was choosing my course selection, I was choosing art as a subject. That back then it was an exam subject. I was doing art, and the teacher that was teaching me went away, and I followed him, only to find that I had to come back to my old school after 2 years, take up typing when everybody was 2 years advanced. But this teacher sat me down during the breaks, gave me 5 minutes for my break, and taught me to type. And I had the second eyes typing in the school because of that extra dedication from their teacher, and the time that he sacrificed for me. And I found many years later, I'm teaching alongside him in a school. Yeah, so those were the teaching part of it. As for the radio station, Altaf Suleiman was the owner and the motivator.
Oh,
He gave me,
okay.
and I want to thank him for giving me that opportunity to, find myself, to see, just to experience something or to come out my comfort zone, put it that way. And he allowed me to grow, and I'd really like to place my record of thanks to him. And the other people, as much as they were so much younger than me, now we have the sports host on Lotus FM, Bhavna. She has also been very motivational, Neo Iman as well. And not forgetting Des Govender. He is also an influencer and MC. Des has always been like a son to me. He always motivated me. Never, it's ironic that I was giving motivational, but also most of the time needed to be motivated. We
Hmm.
at for each other. And I found that Des is one of those people. He'd always come up and find a solution if ever I was, distressed or wanted to back out earlier. And, he'd always keep me grouped. And we still have a very good relationship with the teaching forum as well as the radio station. We still keep in touch. Recently, there was invitation for me to be an extra on the Broken Promise because one of the ladies from the team, the youngest member, Alia, she is one of the stars of the Broken Promise. She asked me to be in, and I couldn't commit because it's a bit demanding, to have to go
Hmm.
to Johannesburg. And so I just said, no, I'm happy where I am now. I got a lot of my plate. Let me keep it here. Yeah. So that's it.
Okay, so what have been your highs so far in teaching and radio?
Well, let's put it this way. In order to get to an eye, you must have a low. And
Hmm.
there
Of
was
course.
too many lows, and I had to work with it. One of the factors for me, I would say, personally, to the people that are listening in as well, you know, um, procrastinating things, it's still the most valuable asset right now. What we have is time. It's the most important commodity right now, more than money. We can make money, but time
Hmm.
lost we cannot regain. So I would say, if do not waste time about your career. For me, I wasted too much of time. I Yes, because I think I went the roundabout way. I did not put my career first. I put my
Hmm.
family first. And I found that once my kids grew, I had a little extra time on my hands. And then I started to think about me. So I didn't put me first. But I would encourage the young people today uh, to put yourself first. Go to your career, work. If one door closes, find another door to reach your career, because you find when you waste too much of time and you get older, it's harder to keep up. Like when I look at the people at our school, some of them do things, they get it done in a quick amount of time. Whilst for me, being older, I feel like I take a little longer to get to where they are. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, time is against me. Age sometimes can play its role there. Health can play its role there. I had my patches with my health, bad health, so that also is a factor in. But to the older people that are listening in as well, I would like to encourage you. There's no age that's too old to get where you want to go. That dream can still be lived no matter what. I'm living proof of that. I fought death, I fought health, I fought time, and I'm here living my dream.
Okay, but like what have been the lows so far in the teaching and radio?
The lows were for me. Look, I needed to. I have a big family. I have 4 kids. For me,
Oh, okay.
finance was a big factor. Finance was a big
Okay.
factor, and I found that the radio, unfortunately, did not pay as I expected it to have paid for that
Oh.
time. I found that I was paying myself to be there because the radio station was just
Oh.
starting off. And you in the
Oh.
media, you pay a certain amount of time for a certain jingle of 30 seconds. You're paying for your voice. So now we were spending a lot of time in the studio without really getting paid, you know. And it was
Oh.
not something that I'm sad to say that that was the only regret I had. That as a mother, as a at that time a provider for my kids, I did not find joy in that. There was not enough of that coming on. So I had to. That was another reason that I had to, part ways with the studio.
Hmm.
That was a low for me. Um, And the other thing, when it comes to education, for me, yes, the law was that I was 17 years in the system from when I decided to become a teacher to current. I was 17 years in the system as an SGB educator. So again, that also kept my financial status in a little bit of a rut because obviously I wasn't earning that department salary, put it that way. And so it's only very recently that I got my break. And I must thank my present principal of the school that I'm at now, who worked tirelessly putting in all the documents and making that application seen so that I'd be recognized. If not, I'd probably currently still be as an HGB educator, earning a very meager salary but doing the same job as everybody else.
Hmm.
So yes, that is the low for me. But other than that, honestly, I've got a daughter that's studying currently, and
Oh.
for me, I feel what, you safe with a government job, and I'm encouraging her. She's doing a BA in Bachelor of Arts, and I said branch off into education. As for my older daughter, she doesn't want to live my life. She feels that it's too demanding. She got kids of her own. She
Hmm.
said, "Mommy, I don't think I can do
Okay.
it. I don't think I can juggle. It's all about juggling. You're juggling here,
Hmm.
you're doing this a little there. It's too much
Hmm.
of running around." And she
Hmm.
said, "No, she's not into that. So she's not interested at all in that." Yeah. So you get some, and then you get, two different perspectives of that.
Hmm. Okay. So, what are your plans for the rest of this year and beyond?
Well, let's just say I'm much older than most folk that get into the teaching profession. So by now, I should be looking at retirement, working at it. But until I finished, I will see myself still in the teaching profession. Science is evolving every day. I use
Hmm.
that platform to educate our learners that it's not just a classroom thing. Science extends beyond the classroom. Like if you look at young people today on social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, they're all looking at hacks how to brighten their skin,
Hmm.
um, grow their hair, remove hair from their body. Those little things they hacks, you always see them
Hmm.
doing like that. Even I saw some people doing something like face yoga and hair yoga and all these things.
Hmm.
Now, if you look at that, behind that, there's a science. There's a science in everything that we do. Even the average woman that's cooking in the kitchen, that's mixing up her spices, there's a science behind that. And so I use those practicality, those practical things to make my students understand
Hmm.
what science is. It's not just a subject you're writing, it's something you take back home with you, and it's throughout your life. So for me, as a science educator, I also majored in language. But seeing as though I've been in science for such a long time, I became solely a science educator. And yeah, I just hope and pray that I can see it through retirement, which would be in a couple of years' time, not very far from now. And I also engage in some online teaching lessons online. And yeah, so let's just see what it has for me. So, what time? I don't know.
Okay. Finally, what are your words of inspiration for people that may want to get into teaching and radio?
Okay, I'll say now for those people that want to get into radio, well, now that everything is open, we are operational again. Uh, if you can see yourself making that sacrifice, because a life of a radio host demands a lot of research, a lot of travel,
Hmm.
lots of time, preparing your stuff. So if you can see yourself sacrificing, remember you're going to sacrifice a lots of birthdays, lots of functions, lots of parties to get your work ready and to deliver to your online people or to the listeners. You've got to be devoted to the listeners. And so if you can see yourself there, then only I'd say get in, because you don't want to get there and then find yourself, it's overwhelming for you and you cannot manage the time. As for teaching,
Hmm.
well, we see that our teachers are inundated with work currently. We have lots of old teachers that are still in the system and they're doing a marvelous work. But if you compare the younger teachers and the older teachers, their methods are somewhat different, a lot different. So
Hmm.
I can say I'm something about in the middle. I can balance the old and the new. And that is why I feel like I bring about something different in my classroom. And the young people that are getting on today are mainly, some of them are just getting on for different reasons. The older people, when they got on, remember,
Hmm.
teaching was a career that when you were growing up back in my time, the only job that you could do was teaching, nursing, uh, some government job. That's what you were only limited to. But now it goes way
Hmm.
beyond that. There's so many other fields that have opened up since then. And so not everybody wants to get into teaching because they want to teach. They get into teaching because they think of the time that you spent in the classroom and the time you're spending at home. They think of the amount of money you're going to get now. Even though it might not be much, but it is still something. Imagine a young person just coming out from school, finishing a 4 year study, and then starting to earn something like, maybe 15, 16,000, which is money they never had. So it's a lot of money for them to process at one time. So they look at all those lucrative things. But if you are passionate about teaching, and as I said, teaching goes away from the classroom. When you come home, you have to sit, you have to prepare work, you have to mark. It's like an MC, that is the master of ceremonies, go into a function. He starts off his thing to get his audience by maybe opening up a joke, or some line to get the positive vibes going. Like that, as an educator, when you go in firstly to motivate your students. Now, if you're a
Hmm.
person that's disgruntled, that complains about everything, get into the class and get there as you militant somebody, you lost your students in the first minute.
Hmm. Hmm.
You got to buy in, they got to buy into you. You got to have that trust. And
Hmm.
also, it's a lot of work. That I will not lie to you. It's a lot of work. You know, when I was growing up, I always heard this saying, Indian thing. It is Mata Pita Guru Devan. I'm Christian, but I stuck with that. And I asked people to explain that to me, and they said, the level of respect that you get, it stems to God first, your teacher, and your parents. And today, that is so lacking. That is so, so lacking because teacher doesn't really get much respect. The way the
Hmm.
system is set up now, unfortunately, things are not the way it seems. But I wish children can get back to that and realize that we're not saying we are gods. We're not gods. We are there to basically pass down the information. We are human. We are also learning. A teacher is a student first, and you're always learning, no matter what. You may be a master teacher, but as a human, you still got to go and learn stuff. Maybe look at another way to uh, set the work out a better way, because you get in a classroom, you get a learner that is, maybe a different type of study student, one that can actually listen to you and observe. You get another student that must read it out. You get another student that needs audio visual, looking at a video they can learn. So you need to look at all those factors and bring it and deliver a lesson. You're an entertainer. Even in the classroom, you're an entertainer. So all I can say is, as a motivation, go out there, find your niche, find yourself, know if this job is for you. Like even my daughter too, it took her a long while to find out that she wanted to do teaching, and she had to do some online classes, and she found that, what, she doesn't want to go into senior FEC. She wants to go into intermediate because that is the group of children she finds she can deal with and motivate. So yes, all I can say is, be well, do well, and give us your best in every day. Thank you, Siddharth, for giving me this opportunity.
You're most welcome, and thank you so much for your time, and hopefully the first of many.
Yes, hopefully we can. I was just telling my students, because whenever they complain, I'll tell them, just go back to think of 2020, 2020, when we did not have teachers. You were supposed to do it by yourself. So train yourself to get it done. Don't wait for someone. You can always learn, because now there's so much of resources out there. Children don't have to have a teacher in the classroom. They proved it. They can go on and YouTube. They can look at this person, that person teaching it online, and they're learning. So yeah, you must not use that as an excuse for why we can't learn and get things done.